Welcome back. You're watching ASEAN Talks on ASEAN TV, and today we're talking about the archaeology site that got flooded, especially in Ayuthaya province. And still with us, Dr. Tim Curtis, the Chief of Culture Unit of the UNESCO Regional Office in Bangkok. Okay, we were talking about the damage in Ayuthaya and the canal work and all that stuff. Have you had a chance, or did expert team have a chance to go take a look of other city nearby, like in Lopburi or Suphanburi or Ang Thong?
No. At this stage, our expert team didn't. There have been assessments with the government, and I believe also the World Bank did at least a costing assessment of the damage earlier in some of the other provinces, but we've been focusing on Ayuthaya as a World Heritage Site, and clearly as a site that has really been submerged quite dramatically and at the center of the flooding. So.
As the preliminary assessment, I know it's still too early to tell, but put it in a simple word. Do you think it's fixable, the damage?
Yeah. I mean, clearly,
it's going to be a big work.
There's a lot of work. It's fixable. And then the question is, I would like it to end up even better than it was before. There were already some concerns about the site prior to the flooding.
Yeah, there were some experts saying that we have a chance that we may lose the heritage site status.
That's a different issue. That's what people were saying. No, there has never been any formal move to delist the site. There has been rumors about that. That has never come to UNESCO.
Okay, so we clear that.
It's only existed in the press. It hasn't existed at UNESCO.
So we clear that out.
Yes, I've heard. But nevertheless, clearly the site could need some reinvigorating. And in terms of management, the pressure of the urbanization is very large on the site. This has been discussed, and those experts are right to say that there have been issues around. So the first thing at hand now, of course, is to deal with the damage caused by the flood. And to at least stabilize so that no further damage is done. But this next thing is to really think in the rehabilitation, it's not just fixing the buildings and fixing the monuments, but fixing the management of the site, fixing the water management, fixing the tourism visitation, fixing the relation with the community. All of those things have to be brought together if we want to see the site being managed properly in the long term. And I believe that maybe this flood is an opportunity to really get everybody thinking about Ayuthaya, how it can be managed, what it means to the country, and so on.
How much authority UNESCO has in, I know we always have to deal with the government body and local people.
Look, it works like this.
But it's more like the supporters.
No, the World Heritage is actually an international treaty. It's a convention. It's an international convention where countries sign on to the convention, and they say that the idea behind the convention in simple terms is that there are certain heritage sites that are so valuable that they're valuable to the whole of humanity. And so countries agree to this, and they sign on to a convention. And they say, we are going to submit some of our sites as World Heritage Sites. We, the country, have the authority and the primary responsibility for the convention, but for the site, but we acknowledge that this site has relevance to all of humanity. So we take a commitment to you, the other countries, that we will protect this site. At the same time, if we have problems protecting this site, we ask the other countries to help us protect. We, as UNESCO, act as facilitators, monitors, implementers of that convention. But the authority, in a sense, is the collective authority of countries who are
each country
who have signed a convention together. That's how it works. I don't know if that's clear. So we monitor and we inform and we say, hey, there's a problem. But the decisions, any decision about it, is done by the World Heritage Committee, which are 24 member countries that sit on a rotating basis. We cannot make those decisions.
So, come back to the archaeology site again. What needs to be done urgently right now?
Right now, urgently is what we're doing. We need to do structural studies immediately. We've just done a first assessment of some of the, also the mural paintings. Clearly, we're going to have to start seeing how to rehabilitate that. We need to monitor the next 3 months the buildings, see if there's any structural issues, be ready to intervene quickly if there are. And we need to start planning the rehabilitation and the conservation work. I think those are the most urgent. And then there are still areas that are flooded.
Right.
They need to be dried out. in a proper way. You can't pump the water out too quickly because that can create other issues. Yeah. So
About the water pressure.
the water pressure issues and so on. Yeah.
Okay. So talking about dry up the site, also have to talk about the cleaning. Does UNESCO has to supervise the correct way of cleaning the heritage site?
Well, again, that responsibility will mainly be with the Fine Arts Department that will look after if they ask us to come and help them, we will
but
come
I'm
and
sure
help.
there's specific way to clean all those.
There are specific methods, and there are a number of experts in Thailand, I think, who know quite well what to do. And so those Thai experts, I'm sure, are quite able to say what needs to be done.
Okay.
If there are some certain areas where there are things not sure about, they'll ask us and we'll come and help them. But it's not a question of checking on them, so to speak.
Right. Supervise, consult, support.
Assist.
Assist.
Yes.
Okay, that's the right word. Assist. You said you mentioned there some water has collapsed, and they need more tests to see what's more going to happen. What is the chance, you think, or it's too soon to say it anyway?
I'm hoping things will be okay.
Right.
Okay. There have been some damage. There's also, we need to assess, because what's also brought up is how much damage was already there before the flood.
Right.
So some things have been collapsed, but they were already collapsed before the flood, or they've been worsened by the flood. So again, that's why I'm saying this situation has brought up a number of questions about the overall management. We need a good state of conservation of the overall site. That hasn't been done for a while.
Right.
So there's been a little bit of neglect over the years to this site. So that needs to perhaps be put on the agenda again. Yeah.
This is also like reopening the old wound or something, too.
The old?
The old wound.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Which wound are you talking about? I don't know.
No, I mean, if it's about the management and it's even before flood, it means there's something wrong over there. Anyway, how long do you think it will take roughly until we really start doing something about the rehab or?
I think the next couple of months is still kind of next, say, 3 or so months will be more intense assessments, unless there are really emergency things that need to be done.
Such as?
Such as if we see a structure is about to fall and you have to immediately move in and put up supporting. I'm sure the Fine Arts will be working with the Fine Arts Department looking, and they'll be looking at that primarily. But I suspect next year the proper rehabilitation conservation work will happen in a few months. It'll start coming. It's no use rushing into it. We need to first assess exactly what needs to be done. The first thing is to stop further deterioration, to stop further damage. Once those things are stabilize the situation, dry it up. Once it's dried up and stabilized, and no more damage, then move into the reconstruction, rehabilitation phase.
Now in that area flood every year. It's probably going to get flood again. Maybe not this bad, but probably around the same time. Do you think we have enough time to prepare for the prevention measure?
Yes and no. I think we can try to put some measures to alleviate some of the issues before the next rain season. It's impossible to say whether next year or in 10 years or in 2 years.
Yeah, because there's a little area that get flooded anyway by the river.
Exactly. And there are other issues. For instance, one of the experts was talking about the sewerage issues. Part of it is septic sewerage, part of it is irrigated sewerage. So it would be better to have irrigated than septic sewerage, apparently, because this doesn't lead to as much accumulation of water.
Right.
So these are some of the urban planning, town management issues that also affect the site, you see.
Right.
So, and I think that's the part that tends to get more flooded. So all of these need to be looked into. I think some, it's not only Ayuthaya for the people, it's not only the historic site. I think all over Thailand there'll have to be a lot of questions about water management for the next.
I think this flood is a big wake-up call for everyone in this country.
Well, certainly any disaster like that, it makes you have to sit down and think about things again. And I think, unfortunately, they happen in a lot of countries. A lot of people suffer, and these things happen.
There was in the news that there is a dry area in Ayuthaya archaeology site, one of the pagoda. Is it still dry at the end of the day?
Well, there's one pagoda that's not as wet, but our understanding is pretty much the whole site was submerged to different degrees of water.
Right. Because there some people was taking picture and said they use this much 100,000 of sandbags to wall.
Oh no, that's the
around.
one. There is a temple that was protected. The name of the temple has just slipped me. Yes,
Panancheng.
but that's just outside of the site, the actual World Heritage Site.
Okay.
It's just outside of the border. It's part of the cultural complex, but it's
Right.
just outside of the border.
Right.
Yes. That. Sorry, you're right. That temple was not flooded, and they used a lot of bags to protect it. Yes, correct.
Can I ask you about this sandbags thing? Is it damaged maybe the best of the site or the ground?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell you. It's possible that it could do. We haven't been able to assess that, I'm afraid. Yeah.
What should be mandatory prevention measure?
I think what we need is a full flood and multiple disaster management plan for Ayuthaya. It's better to be prepared. So we need to, I think the next phase is also starting to work not only with the heritage authorities, but I think we need to work with the
City planner.
the city planners and the governor's office to have a proper crisis management. Flood is one, but there could be other forms also.
True.
Including tourism management, you know. I think the site needs to be protected on all sorts of levels, and I'm not sure that the management plans have been updated recently. They probably need to be updated, yeah.
Do they have to submit the management plan to the UNESCO?
Yes, we do, but this...
How often?
It's not... What happens is we do periodic reporting every 6 years.
Okay.
Every 6 years, the sites have to report on their condition back to UNESCO. And according to that, it may be called in to provide a new management plan or not. It's not a fixed rule that this
Right.
site has to have this many years.
It's more like grow-up people talking, have to take care of themselves.
Periodic reporting has to happen every 6 years. Then there can be reactive monitoring missions that
Right.
if UNESCO is alerted to a problem in a site, the committee, which is, again, the Intergovernmental Committee, may ask UNESCO to send a reactive monitoring mission. And there UNESCO sort of says, okay, we've heard about this through a newspaper or somebody's attention, we want to come and check the situation. And then that goes back to the committee for discussion, and the committee may ask the country to answer some questions or make some interventions on the site.
Worst case scenario, if the damage that we see right now is not stopped there, if there's something more walls collapse, or when it all dry up, you see some of the worst, is that going to affect the status of the World Heritage Site?
I doubt it. I doubt very much. I think at this stage we don't want to see any more damage, but the site is, the principal criteria for becoming a World Heritage Site is demonstrating outstanding universal value.
Right.
So whatever that criteria, which is the entire archaeological site as an early example of planning and the statues, unless the whole site would kind of disappear and that outstanding universal value, it's only happened twice that sites have been removed from the list.
Really?
What happened, because usually there's a first step to go on the danger list.
Okay.
And usually when a country gets on the danger list, the international community kicks in, that country kicks in, and the work is done to restore the site.
What's the main reason of those two sites? Can you tell me a little bit?
Of?
Those two sites that got delisted.
Because they were considered to have lost their outstanding universal value, the criteria under which they were
if it
inscribed.
cannot hold its own value.
If it cannot hold that criteria under which, for the reason for which it was inscribed as a World Heritage Site. Yeah.
Okay, so it has to be really, really bad to happen to you.
In one case, it was reducing they wanted to reduce the site by 95% of its size. So the committee said, if you do that, because they found petrol, they wanted to drill for petrol.
Oh.
So if you do that, then it's no longer a World Heritage Site because it no longer has outstanding universal value.
Right. Well, I guess you have to pick between the heritage or the money. Anyway, at least I know a lot more about the process with UNESCO, and I think Ayuthaya archaeology site still look positive.
I think there's been damage, but I think it's fixable, as you said, and I'm hoping that maybe a few years from now, the site might be in a better condition, because I think it needs a bit of taking care of now. Yeah.
I think it's a good chance for the restart it. And that's all the time we have. Thank you very much to spending time with us talking about this. And I guess I might have a chance to talk to more of the UNESCO expert maybe in the future, if there's more coming.
Yes.
And I hope this is a good time for us to take a look at the way we have managed our heritage site and the water management, and really study the old way of what the people in the old time was doing and why they survived such a long time and why we almost not survive. But that's all the time I have right now, and until we see you next time, สวัสดีค่ะ